Default settings on Battlefield are way too complicated. They require an engineering degree. Luckily, it doesn't have to be that way. In today's video, I'm gonna go through all of my settings that I tweaked, that I prefer. So if you're having trouble on this game, don't think that it's necessarily because the game is bad or that you're bad. It's because the settings are horrible. Here, we're going to start in by clicking on the settings tab. Accessibility, you want to set up as much as possible on accessibility before doing anything else, because things will come back. For example, the controller settings, mouse and keyboard settings, which I'm not going to go over because I'm a controller player. In this accessibility menu, you can go through a bunch of different things here that you won't have to redo again once you get into future settings. First things first, menu narration, get that out of here. That's the little voice that keeps talking in your head. You think that someone is playing TV behind you. Nope, that is the menu narration voice, completely useless. Subtitles, I like to keep it on because sometimes when you're in the game, you are going to hear what the announcer says, something like precision airstrike inbound. Well, you want to make sure that there's a little subtitle box there that says it to you. It's a preference basis. If you want it to be more immersive, you don't have to put that on. Then you got the subtitle settings. You can tweak all of these. I left everything on default here. You can increase the text size. I left everything on default because the subtitles are not really one of the most important settings. Then you got master volume. I like to turn it down a little bit. These two settings here are going to be based more on personal preference. I left it on complete default because if you have any of these issues in your life, this is where it's going to come useful. But if you have just generic hearing, don't need to touch this. Color profiles, this is going to be important. You go into the color profiles, the two most important things that you need. A lot of these you can tweak for personal preference. The two things that I wanted that was the most important was player color, which shows here, which is going to be your team, and then your enemy colors. These are the two things: friendly, player, and enemy. Everything else kind of like hit or miss depending on what you prefer. You see the soft armor, hard armor, so it depends on how tactical you want to get with your team. Enemy color, most important, that you want to put this to something that's super vibrant, so that when you spot an enemy, it comes out really red on your screen. Super important. And then this, I like to put this one here. These are the first couple of important settings. Then when you go down world brightness, the game is already super bright on Battlefield compared to Call of Duty. So I like to turn it back down, whether it's 46, 47, 48, personal preference again. This is what I keep. Camera effects, this is going to be important. This is what felt horrible, especially just like visually when you're playing in the game on day one. You're going to see some footage of the world motion blur and weapon motion blur on. You want to swing that all the way to the 0. Infantry HUD motion, 0. Camera shake amount, 0. Unless you want a super realistic immersive experience. This is what I'm saying for competitive purposes. You want to turn all of that to 0 because you don't need extra visual clutter on the screen. You want to be able to see the screen properly if you want to shoot it at targets and not miss any. Reduce sprint camera bobbing, you want that on. These you want to put as little camera effects as possible. That was one of the most important settings that you want to make sure have on if you want the game to feel good. Then controls, the hold or toggle controls. This is my personal preference for things. A lot of these are going to be the best settings as well. Infantry sprint, I put it on toggle instead of on hold. You're going to see later on, a lot of people like the setting where you move forward and you don't have to press down on your control to be able to sprint. But I personally like to be able to crawl on the ground and move forward without standing back up involuntarily. Double tap forward to sprint, off, crouch toggle sprint, crouch, vehicle boost, toggle, crouch slide. Now, a lot of settings you can leave default, but I'm going to go through the important things that you want to make sure you change. Double tap, crouch for sprint slide, off, infantry, weapon zoom, hold, vehicle weapon zoom, hold, boom, interact, and reload. This is one of the important ones as well. The default one sucks. Put it on prioritize to enter, which is going to be a little bit like on Call of Duty Warzone, the setting that you want. When you're trying to open a door, when you're trying to open a box, if you have to hold down when you're opening the door in your mid-fight, you don't want to be holding down and having a delay. You want to just get right in there right away. You want to prioritize this to interact. What interact and reload means is that if you're in a situation where you're in an open field, you can just tap to reload and it's going to be fine because there's nothing else to interact with. But by keeping prioritize interact, even if there's a bunch of clutter on your screen, you can hold to reload to make sure that you're not going to be just grabbing something off the ground. But I would say prioritize interact is important. You're going to have to get used to it if this is not already the default that you use, but that's something that I would put on prioritize interact for sure. Interact toggle, skip revive, hold, press revive, toggle, bound breakout instant, that's scoreboard. Some of these things you can just leave on default. Then we're going to go on controller. Controller vibration, off. Take it off. Take it off now. I don't even care who you are, what you're doing. Take it off. Controller vibration, there is no need for you to get extra physical stress when you're getting shot at in the game. You don't need this on ever. Take it off. Vibration sensitivity is 0. Vibration settings doesn't matter because you're going to put this controller vibration on off. Adaptive shiver weapons, put this down 0. Play incoming text as speech, I put it off. This is off. Tutorials, menu tutorials, this can be kind of personal preference. I like to have this, especially when you're starting out, to have the little game telling you, giving you some tips. Here we go. Peek hint. Next. Then you're going to go into, those are the accessibility settings that are important. Then you're going to go into gameplay. Invert all vertical look. I do not play invert whatsoever. If you do, I don't know what to say. You just leave that at a complete default here, whether it's on custom or default or whatever. Just don't touch this. You don't need that at all. Capture area outline, I like this on. Show HUD prompts, vehicle control hints. Personally, I don't really use vehicles anyway in the game. If you like to use tanks or choppers and you're not familiar with the controls already, maybe you turn that on. Action prompts off, ping hints off. This is going to be a personal preference. Again, if you're a complete beginner to Battle Royale, one thing's for sure is that Battlefield Battle Royale is not a casual friendly experience off the get-go, hence why I'm doing this settings video in the first place, because the default settings for casuals are terrible. So you have to do a little bit of work in order to actually enjoy this game. Once you do the work, it's going to be amazing. Then infantry aim sensitivity. This is going to be a big part. What is going to change the game for you, especially if you're on a controller. I like to turn it down. I would say anywhere between 15 and 50, let's say. You know, the higher you go, the faster your aim is going to move. But if you're on controller, without aim assist, you won't be able to flick to everything as accurately as a mouse and keyboard player. So I would recommend going more towards lower. I'm on 38. I prefer a little bit of flickiness to my aim assist. So even like I can even put this up to 40. Sensitivity, double tap forward to sprint, crouch, toggle sprint. I put it on crouch, vault over sprint, on sprint door barge, on double tap, boom. I'm going to go through a lot of these quick, the things that don't need to be talked about too much. Parachute auto deploy. I put it on tethered only, which means that I can choose when I'm pulling the parachute. If you put this on anything else, you're going to be stuck in the parachute animation sometimes when you don't want to be. But if you are a pure casual at the game, might want to have an auto deploy just in case you break your legs jumping off a building because you forgot to deploy it. Roll camera in landing roll. That is a personal preference thing. I like the cinematicness of rolling while I'm doing it. You don't have to put that on. You can put that off so that you don't get going upside down every time you roll down. And every time you jump off of a building that's a little bit high, not super high, because when it's super high, you want to use your parachute. When it's a little bit high where you think you're going to take some damage, hold the jump button. As you're landing in, it's going to make you roll and reduce that fall down. Mount type, side and up, mount breakout, instant, mount presets combo, peak type, side and up, prioritize, interact. See, we did that in the accessibility already, so we don't have to do it again. That's going to happen again on future settings. Invert demolition charge, here off. Again, a lot of these you can keep at default. Vehicle aim sensitivity. This is super important in the different sensitivity controls that you're going to have in the future. Is you want to keep, most of the time, you want to keep the sensitivity the same while you're shooting or while you're in a vehicle so that you can learn muscle memory wise what feels good, what doesn't feel good. But if you put like a vehicle aim sensitivity on 50 and then your usual shooting sensitivity is at 38 or 40, see here, even this, I'm going to put it back up to 40 because that's what I picked for the infantry. Boom. Aircraft control. I never use helicopters, so I don't want to be the person to tell you what to use on this. I left it at default. Boom. This off, toggle. Infantry aim input curve. So as a Call of Duty player, this is the one that I recommend. Battlefield, you can use this one, or if you're used to the dynamic aim assist, I would go dynamic aim assist, which will give you more of the S response curve that I liked on Call of Duty. But for this, I'm keeping it at OG. We got Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, and you want to keep this consistent in your different settings, which means zoom, aim input curve, keep the same. Battlefield, you don't want to be on Battlefield 3 on input curve here, and then be on Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4 on this one, because then you're going to find that your aim is inconsistent. Here, again, keep it the same. Boom, standard. Here you go. That's for gameplay. Then you want to go into your HUD. Show HUD on. Infantry HUD motion off. Keep it off again. Anything that most of the time when something has to do with motion, get it out of there. Here, 0, I'm going through this. Show soldier overlays on. Show vehicle overlays. I'm putting this on. Advanced HUD and icon settings. Boom. Big map opacity. Just trust me on this. Here, you know what? I'm going to put it a bit higher on this. Because you like to use kill kills made by squad and nearby. This you can change to only the kills that you get so that you don't get distracted by people around. You don't have to put this. This is when the names of the kill pops up on the right. So whenever my teammates get someone, I want it to be shown, and I want nearby. See, all means anyone on the map that ever dies is going to be shown, which is not important for me. But if I go squad and nearby, means that other teams that are fighting around you will also show the names of these people that are shooting, downing these people. Kill feed icons on, ping notification, multiplayer, ping notification, show resources off, show loot on simplified squad list on, vehicle HUD. I didn't touch this at all. Icon intensity. A lot of these I'm leaving at default. Whatever you want. If you like to tweak your own settings to be perfect, you're a little bit OCD, that's totally fine. A lot of these are not super important. You can leave them as is as well here. Most of these, leave them as is. If you want to copy my settings exactly, just follow through, pause the video, hit this, then minimap. Minimap is important. Default, I believe, is going to be small. I like to have the minimap size large. Going to help you to figure out the people who are around you. Minimap background opacity, 90, boom. Tone edge opacity, interior zoom, view distance on foot. I put that at 250. You can even put it bigger if you want. I think the default is 160. I would increase this a little bit so that you can see people further away while you're on foot. Putting it at 300. 300 is really far away. You don't really need to see people that far, but go. Compass. Opacity. Place spotted enemies. On. Definitely keep that on here. If you want to go through, copy. This you can change depending on what you like to see on your screen. I'll put something nice, and whenever you change the color, make sure you put something nice and bright, unless it's something that you absolutely don't want to. Here, again, this is something that I like to change. This is important. The headshot color and the kill color here. So that means that whenever you kill someone, you want to make sure this is bright red, not like a weird neutral red that I put it red, you could put it blue, you could switch him over whatever you want, but make sure that when you're tweaking the color settings, make sure you're not doing it like this here. For me, these ones don't matter as much because the purple is fine, but like this one is a little bit light. Make sure they're super bright on your screen. Hit indicator numbers on. That means that the numbers when you're hitting shots and it hurts them for 35 damage or something, you could tell your teammates that. You don't want it to take the screen though. You keep that default. You're keeping a lot of this. A lot of this is going to be kept deep. Campaign, that's going to be super personal, has nothing to do with best or not best, this fleet personal preference. Then we go into the controller setting. This is going to be the part that you've all been waiting for. A lot of these are already done. Good thing is, because we did it in previous menus, a lot of this is already done. Control settings, infantry aim assist. If you want to keep it, if you want to copy the same thing that I did, go ahead. Again, the sensitivity things, you can adjust it a little bit based on personal preference. I would tweak this case by case basis, but you can also copy and see how it feels. Field of view, 115. I usually on Call of Duty, I play on 120. I would say that anywhere between 110, 115, maybe 100. There's already so much that's going on the screen on Battlefield that I would say 115 is probably the perfect middle up there. Go. And there are some settings, as you can see, that have been saved from the previous menus that we already did. So here, just copy paste this, and then from there, you can tweak things. Here, toggle. This here in the movement section, this is going to be a little bit of a personal preference thing. So for me, sprint, like I said earlier, I like to crouch and crawl when you're in some nice foliage and when you're in the bush and you want to be sneaky. If you put this on moving forward, so this is the setting that most people are going to have, is just simply up the left stick, and that means that you won't be able to be prone on the ground and like crouch forward very well, like move forward very well. It's going to keep trying to stand you up and sprint. So that's why I like press it down. But if you don't spend a lot of time prone crouching, remove it. Remove that and put simply forward, because then you're going to, so this is the one that I recommend for most people. So simply L forward, which means when you're clicking on this setting, push up, bind anyway, you're pushing upwards. That means you're always going to be sprinting by default. I would recommend this for most people, but for me, I like to be super tactical when I am prone and I don't want to involuntarily stand. Crouch on, vault over sprint on, slide, whatever you're using for crouch is what you want to be using for slide as well. Here, crouch slide all, double tap crouch for sprint side off, zoom, hold. This is, see, I play bumper jumper tactical sprint, so my actual settings for these things are not going to be relatable for most people. Most of these will be the L2 rather than the L1 if you're PS5. I use the top bumper to zoom in, top left bumper to zoom in, top right bumper to, and most people are going to be using bottom and bottom for that. I don't have any back button attachments, so I like to play it this way, but most people don't. This again, zoom, use whatever you typically zoom with. That's completely fine. So here, zoom aim sensitivity. I left all of this at default. All of this is going to be entirely muscle memory. You can change the zoom depending on the scope that you're using. You can change the aim assist, whether you're close range, you want to make sure that your aim assist is kicking in more. And when you're further range, you want to make sure that you're not over flicking. tweaking either, right? You want to be able to move quick when you're close range in case the person is moving, but you want to make sure when you're far range, you're not moving too. So this is where you're going to adjust. Personally, I completely am okay with all of this being on default, because then I don't have to adjust anything ever, and I don't have to spend hours on tweaking all of this. So if you are a super sweat, adjust this. If you're a semi-sweat or casual, don't even touch these settings. It's going to take you too long and it's not going to be worth it. Parachute, other deploy, again, this is settings that we've touched before. Prioritize interact, interacts, toggle. You can copy paste a lot of these settings. Again, here, toggle, off, mount type, peak type. If you like going through all of these settings together and never having to touch these settings ever again, please go ahead. I know a lot of you guys are new here. Subscribe to the channel. That's going to help a ton if you want me to keep making more videos, which my next videos are going to be about how to play the assault class, engineer class, the support class, and the recon class. If you're interested in certain things like that on Battlefield, might as well subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, because it'll help us grow the community, push it out to more people, keep making these click look mode always here. I haven't touched any of this. You don't need to touch any of this. Kind of useless. All right, infantry buttons. Here, you want to put it on custom because you can personalize a lot of all of this. Here, I put it on custom passenger control mapping. This, again, it's going to be completely up to you which buttons you want to map on which side. So some people have different buttons attached to their back buttons, for example. But one thing that you really do have to remember is that you don't want to be double mapping things. For example, on day one, every time that I was zooming in, I had that map to pinging things for your teammates. So every time that I could zoom in, I couldn't move while zooming in because it was making me double map into something else. Make sure you're checking all of these. This is something that you want to make sure that all of your controls are what you want them to be. So what's your jump button that you like? Make sure that I like the L2 button again, but the default will be zooming in. So if you're only changing the jump button and not changing which is zooming in button, you're going to be jumping in and zooming in every time you click this, right? Just make sure you're removing the things that you don't need, put in the things that you need here. This is completely personal preference here. Again, this is my settings, and make sure you know how to put the gadgets on as well in the game. That's going to be important. Go. Ground vehicles, control settings. Listen, I kept most of this at default. The only things that you want is to make sure that your the aim assist, the response curve, and all of that. You want to make sure that this is the same consistent thing. Again, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4. This is where you want to be consistent preferences so that you're not feeling like sometimes you're wonky, sometimes you're not wonky. So all of this I left completely on default because, one, I don't really use vehicles that much, and two, these are pretty much okay. Like there's not too much important things for vehicles. Go if you want to keep copying this. Control settings, transport vehicle. Again, same thing. Just make sure the response curves are all the same. Haven't touched most of this. Aircraft, same thing again. Make sure you go through. Most of this should already be done, but put in the same thing as the other one. Transport vehicle, aircraft, helicopter, same thing. Gunner, joystick. Here for the dead zones, a lot of people will have different settings for this. It's going to be based on your own controller. If you've got a lot of dead zone, that's going to be up to you to decide. And here is where your important dead zones are going to be. And ignore all of the other rest. The edit controller tuning. Sorry, I went through. You could skip through most of this. The ground vehicles, transport vehicles. See, there's so many settings in this game. You do not need moving. I like that you can customize it though, if you do really spend a lot of time on the game. But for like first time user coming from Call of Duty, going from Call of Duty Warzone, going into Battlefield, like this is overwhelming. If I wasn't playing this all day, every day, and making videos for it, having fun with my friends, it wouldn't be worth all the time investment to figure out these settings and what you prefer, what you So I feel like Battlefield needs to do a better job at making these settings better as the default. But anyway, here, again, this should already be done for you. Putting it all the way to 0. Make sure you remove all the delays that you have on the adaptive triggers. Your weapon fire, weapon zoom. Dead zone, I like to put it as low as possible. But again, if you have super high dead zone on your controller because you've been using it for a long time, one, consider getting a new controller. Or two, make sure you're adjusting based on what you like. You don't need to have this all the way up on the max input threshold on the controller left stick or on the controller right stick either, because on the controller left stick, if you put this on max, it means to move all the way forward fully the way that you want, you're going to need to move your stick all the way forward, but you don't want that. You want to be able to just 60 being your max. All right, the right stick, this is where your aim dead zones are. I like to put that on super low because I want the aim assist, everything to kick in as soon as possible. But again, if this is moving, if you're finding yourself standing still and your aim is going up into the sky into the clouds, then you might want to increase this a little bit, but don't go over 10. Like, really no point. If you have to go over 10 on this, you should get a new controller. Max input threshold here, dead zone, everything on the triggers, you want that all the way to the minimum. Mouse and keyboard settings, I am not going to touch because I am not a mouse and keyboard setting player at all. Let's go into the graphics. It says, I know this is a long video. It's going to be worth it once you try it. Now, this is going to be, if you're on PC or on console, all of this is going to be different. Here's a copy paste of what I have as my personal preference. Again, this might not work for all of you because depending on like your graphics card, your CPU, what's better, what's worse, what you want, what's the most important, I'm going to show you with the mouse here. What you want, whatever these settings are, whatever your computer can handle, you want to make sure that you have a buffer here. You don't want this white line to be anywhere close to the max. That's when you're going to have issues of your game crashing or stuff stuttering. You want to make sure you have a big, nice buffer on the dark side here. You can put the settings as high as you want, but just this is the most important part when we're talking to graphics here, to make sure that your GPU and CPU have a nice buffer before the max area. Graphics here, performance preset, custom, graphics quality, custom. Let's go into the quality settings. I put that on here. Texture quality, ultra. Texture filtering, ultra. So again, these are my settings. You can base it, like when you're clicking it and you're moving it, just make sure some of these settings you can have on super high. Some of these settings you don't need on super high, but keep track. Every time you're moving one of these settings, if you don't want to just copy paste what I'm doing, every time you're moving one of these settings, look to the bottom right of your screen. Make sure you're looking to the bottom right of your screen here. You're going to be able to see how the buffer is adjusted. Here, undergrowth quality, mesh quality, high, 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 low, high, high, high. Shadow filtering, I put it on PCSS. The default here, you can change it to PCF, but PCSS, just keep it like this. I haven't anything that I don't need to change, I won't change. Medium reflection quality for me, off, ultra, leave it the way that it is here. Screen space, AO. So again, this is for those of you who just want to copy paste, move on with your day. I put this, it says GI low, high, back. World brightness, again, like I said, this was done before, but you can bring this down to 46, 47, 48, whatever you want. This one here, you just don't need it to be high because Battlefield already has super high brightness stuff going on. Here you go. These are the only two settings that I touched. Everything else, the way that it is. Anti-aliasing, FSR native, enabled, back. Camera settings, field of view, again, you've done this before. Vehicle third-person field of view, I actually bumped up. Weapon motion blur, something that we've done this before. Camera shake amount, we've done this before. Reduce camera sprint camera bobbing, yes, you want it on. Here, don't need these three. Full screen mode, I believe the default on this one is borderless. I would put it on full screen. This is just going to be whatever screen that you're playing on. Here, resolution, make sure the resolution matches the screen that you're playing on again. Aspect ratio, here, refresh rate, go. And we can go into our audio, master volume, sound effects volume, music volume. You don't need the music. Again, I like the sound effects to be loud. Hear all the gunshots. Personal preference. Move this. You can move this sound system. Again, a lot of these, I've looked up a lot of YouTube videos on different settings. This is kind of like, I only had one day to figure out my own personal preferences. I spent a lot of time watching videos and like kind of picking and choosing the things that I want. Sound system, I like to put it on headphones. This is going to be a case-by-case basis based on what you're playing with. Are you playing on a flat screen? Are you playing on a big TV where that's where your sound is coming from? Are you playing on earbuds? Are you playing on headphones? I keep it on headphones. I'm not much of an audio guru, but this sounds good for me. And the footsteps in the game are completely bugged and you don't hear any footsteps anyway until the game fixes that. There's not too much sense in changing the settings for sound. Here, I haven't changed any of this. You can change this. You can push to talk voice chat. That's going to be fun later on for a different video. Here, enable radio music. Not useful at all so like radio in the game when you're using cars, you can have that on, but competitive purposes, I would keep that off. System here again, minimap size, you want that large. Minimap background opacity. Again, make sure you're pausing at any point if I'm going too fast in the video. Pause the video. Make sure you're keeping pace. View distance on foot, I like to put that as far as possible. Back. Network, scoreboard ping on here. Extras, nothing else. And there you have it. I hope you guys can go from watching this video, finally enjoying the game on Battlefield. Please let me know in the comments if there's any of these settings that didn't work out for you. I want to know because case by case basis, this is what seemed like the best settings based on how it felt for me in the game. Going from day one, Call of Duty player into Battlefield, I was completely lost some of these settings. Let me know in the comments if you prefer a different type of setting. Like, for example, FOV wise, if you're playing on a big screen versus a small screen, FOV is going to be more or less important for you. Again, that could come with a different video. Hope this helps. And we've got more videos coming in the future for Battlefield, but also for Call of Duty Warzone. The next update are coming in. Whenever we have new things that we have to figure out, we're going to go in and we're going to figure these things out. And for those of you interested in the next videos and you want to learn how to play the game even better, I'm going to be trying out all the different classes. So Assault, Support, Recon, and Engineer, and seeing the best ways that you can support your team with those classes. Thanks again. Make sure to like, subscribe,